Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Brie. Today's video is going to be my books on my TBR that I'm most excited to read, because I have a lot of books on my TBR, but I don't do really TBR videos, because if you tell me to read a book, or if I tell myself I have to read a book in this time frame, then I no longer want to read it, and I will not read it probably ever. So I don't do TBRs anymore because I found that was problematic for me. And so I just want to make a list of books that I'm really excited to get to that I picked up recently and just are sparking a lot of joy for me, as Marie Kondo says. So let's get into those and just show you what I've got that I want to get to soon. So I guess we'll start with my smallest stacks, which are historical fantasy. I have more historical fantasy on my list, but I think these are the two that are really pulling me in right now that I really want to get to. So the first one is called The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. I've had this on my radar for, I want to say like 2 years or something. That could be wrong if it didn't come out 2021. No, that sounds about right. So like around the time this came out, I've been wanting to read it, and I just never picked it up or saw it at the bookstore, and I saw it on Pango and I had some credits and they were selling this for a really good price, so I picked it up and I'm really excited to get to it. It basically says it's like for fans of the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I really loved how mind-bendy that book was. I liked the time elements of it and like jumping from people's bodies. So I really think I'm gonna like this one. It's about a guy who, all I really know is that he gets a case of amnesia, and all he remembers is stepping off, I think, a boat in 19th century French colony of England, and he has a postcard that just is very cryptic and is signed M, and he has to kind of figure out what's going on. So I've heard it plays with time and stuff like that, so I'm really excited to get to this one. It just sounds like a cool kind of historical, maybe mystery. Did I say this was fantasy? Because this is definitely not fantasy. It's in here now. It's in the category. We'll amend this to historical. This isn't historical either. This category is now things I couldn't figure out how to put in another category. Okay? So this one is The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heep by H.G. Perry. I read The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Perry this year. It just came out in May, and 5 stars, loved it, one of my new favorite books. So I picked up this one because this is one of their backlist, and I don't know too much about it except for it's about like a person who can make the world of books come alive. I think he can bring characters from books into the real world, and so I think literary characters are going to start causing problems and he has to deal with it. And I used to love this book called Inkheart back in the day, and it was where the guy could read to his daughter, and if he did, they could get sucked into the books and stuff, so people got sucked into books a lot. And so although this is the opposite, it kind of reminds me of it a little bit, and I just love the way H.G. Perry writes, and I'm really excited to get to this one. I like books about books, and I think it's gonna be fun seeing like literary characters, because one of my other favorite books is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, that series, which is using a lot of old characters from books like Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, all this stuff, and kind of making them real characters. And so I think this is gonna kind of scratch that itch too. So I'm excited to get to this one. Next we have literary fiction. Both kind of lean like, I think, magical realism, sci-fi, but I really want to get to them because they both have just been on my radar for a bit and they just sound really cool. So the first one is The Cat Who Saved Books by Suzuki Natsukawa. So it's translated from Japanese. It's just a short little book about this cat and a boy who I think his grandfather owned the bookshop. So his teenager is about to close it because he inherited it from his grandfather who passed. And then there is a talking cat that appears and helps him to save the bookstore and save books. And I've heard it's just a good adventure. I'm just really excited to get to it. I think it might be dealing with a little bit of grief and stuff, but I think it's going to be really good. And I'm a sucker for like a cat story, a talking cat. Yes, I mean, so excited for this one. And then we have Una Out of Order. There's a bookmark in here, but I actually haven't read any of it. I got this on my vacation to Durango, and it's just a book that I heard talked about, and so when I saw it there, I had to pick it up. It's about this woman who is like seeing her life in different fragments. One minute she's in the year where she's 16, and then like the next year she's jumped to like 64, and so she's experiencing her life out of order and having to piece together things that have happened to her. And so she kind of also has like knowledge, like if she lived 64 and then goes back to 24, she already knows like stuff that's going to happen to her. And I think there's a bit of a mystery of like trying to figure out why this is happening to her, but she's just living different years in different years of her life, and so she's not experiencing life in the same order. And I just hope it has like some good commentary on just how we view aging and time and stuff. And yeah, I just think it's going to be really interesting. It says it's an unforgettable story about the burdens of time, the endurance of love, and the power of family. And it sounds like something I could really like, because I do really like time bending stories. This one I picked up because I thought it sounded really good for like a literary fiction with a sprinkle of some speculative. This is the second video I'm recording today, and already my words are failing me, so I apologize. I'm really trying to get them to come out in the way that they're up here instead of just going blank. So apologies in advance. Then we have this stack, which is my thriller horror stack. I really only have one horror, but it had nowhere else to live. I guess it could have lived in the category of, I don't know what these are. So that is A House with Good Bones by T.K. Fisher. This came out at like the beginning of the year. I still haven't read it, but I really want to get to it. I love T.K. Fisher. I've picked up probably 4 books now by T.K. Fisher. Yeah, that sounds about right. And so this is a horror, and it's short. I've read What Moves the Dead, which was her other horror, and it was really good. I really liked it, so I'm excited for this one. It's about like a person who goes back to her mother's home, and the house is starting to act weird, and her mom's acting weird, and it's like in the South. So I think it's supposed to be a gothic type horror, which is really my kind of horror. And honestly, I don't really need to know anything about T.K. Fisher to be excited about it, because every book has really been a win for me. I haven't had one that I didn't like. So I'm really excited to get to this, and I will get to it. I'm hoping spooky season brings it out for me. And I've heard from some of you that you think I would like it, so I will be reading it. Then we have a thriller that I think came out last year. It's called Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. Maybe it was the beginning of this year. I picked this up because I really want to try it. It is kind of also dealing with time. It's about this woman whose son murders someone, and then after that she wakes up the day before he's murdered someone, and so she starts going back in time to like the beginning to try to figure out what the catalyst was to lead him to end up murdering someone. And I think it's about dealing with your choices as a parent and things like that. Again, this time traveling aspect mystery is really for me. I really like mystery specifically that deal with time. So you can see a theme. I've got a lot of time books that I gotta get to, and I've heard good things about this one, and I have been like kind of steering away from a lot of thrillers because I just feel like they haven't done it for me. I like to enjoy like a mystery with a lot of fantastical elements, and so a lot of standard thrillers I just don't tend to enjoy. And since this one has like that speculative element, I really think I'm going to like this one. Then we have a mystery. It's called The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This has been out for a while, and I've heard such good things, and it's a mixed media type book, so it's got like interviews and I think podcasts and stuff, texting. So I think it's going to be one that I'll enjoy because of the mixed media element. And I've heard the mystery itself is really good. I really don't know the mystery at all. I just have heard there's one murder, 15 suspects, a wholly original puzzle. So really I picked this up because people who I've seen who like similar mysteries to me have recommended this one and really enjoyed it. So I picked it up because I saw it at the bookstore, and now that it's been on my shelves, I just keep thinking about picking it up. And I think that spooky season is going to be a really good time for like a fast, quick mystery, because I really enjoy mysteries in the fall. So then I have Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one I probably will have read by the time you're seeing this, because I'm going to be buddy reading it with my friend Karen at Roving Reader. I am thinking that I will really like this. So I picked it up because I saw it at the half price, and then she asked to buddy read it, and so now we're buddy reading it, and I'm really excited for it now, because I was hesitant because I had read Velvet Was the Night and didn't really love it, and now that I've read 1.5, I'm currently in the middle of I've read Mexican Gothic. I'm currently reading The Beautiful Ones and loving both of them. I am thinking that I will really like this, so I picked it up, and this is like a horror thriller type thing, but I think it's got a horror movie that was being filmed, and it's got to do with like Nazis and stuff in the 90s in Mexico. It got stopped with one clip left, and now people think it's cursed, and then something like weird happened with it, and then now in the time frame that we're in, I believe the director wants to get the main character and her and another guy to film the last clip, and then I think things start going horribly wrong. It says it's a fabulous meld of Mexican horror movies and Nazi occultism, a dark thriller about the curse that haunts a legendary lost film and awakens one woman's hidden powers. So, I mean, just that alone is really making me excited. And I really like when I really like an author to read like all of their backlist. And while this is a new list, not backlist, I guess, I'm excited because now I will have 4 books of Sylvia Marina Garcia's under my belt, and I'm just so happy I found this author, and I'm really excited to read it. Yeah, that's this one. Last one in the mystery category is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This is a mystery that is, I think, supposed to be like kind of funny. So I read 20 pages of it when I had gotten it. I read it right after Mexican Gothic, but I was in a reading slump, so I stopped reading like almost immediately. But from what I read, it sounds so good, and I think I'm really gonna like it. It's a funny type mystery, so we are following our main character, and he starts off the book by being like, look, I'm not an unreliable narrator. I promise I'm telling the truth. And then like a little bit later he goes, okay, well I like lied about that, but like just because this. So like don't worry, I'm still reliable. And that's the kind of tone of the book, and it's about how everyone in his family has killed someone, maybe accidentally, maybe on purpose. He says some are better at it than others. And we're starting the book with him going to this cabin with his whole family, and someone is murdered, but also his brother, who's been in jail, which he put his brother in jail, is coming home finally. And so there's that. So that's all I know about this mystery. I think it's gonna be great and fun and just like a funny mystery, and I've heard good things. And I think it's been like touted as Knives Out and Clue meets Agatha Christie and the Thursday Murder Club in this fiendishly clever blend of classic and modern murder mystery. And I would say, as someone who just watched Knives Out for the first time yesterday, I am getting Knives Out vibes. It is fun and just a little bit strange and just makes you like laugh while also being like a good mystery so far. So I'm excited. My last stack is fantasy. So we have The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. Gotten into historical fantasy romance, and this one is, I think, going to be kind of like quirky. So I believe this, our main character, she is a lady thief, and I think her aunt gets captured by a pirate, and she has to save her aunt from a pirate, but I think he may be the love interest, and it's Victorian, it's fantasy. It sounds like fun. It feels like it's going to be over the top and dramatic and kind of like silly, but I think that I'm going to love it because I really like kind of fun books that don't take themselves too seriously, and that I think is going to be this. And I've been enjoying the historical fantasy romance. So that's why I have this one. I also have been seeing, it's a series, so I just think I like a good romance series. So this one. I feel like I'm running out of like steam here, so I'm sorry if my reasonings sound dumb. On the Nature of Magic, this is by Marian Womack, and I picked this up because it's a like fantasy mystery of sorts, and it's historical. Man, I really could have made a historical pile, but I did not. So this is about a woman in 1902, her, and I think she has a partner, so kind of, I think it's gonna be like a little bit Sherlock Holmesy. They investigate some mysteries, but I think that they're investigating more like paranormal type mysteries, so like seeing ghosts in Versailles, or it says like a young woman working at the mysterious Malay Stars film studio has disappeared, and so they start to investigate, and it's got like magical weirdness mystery going on, which is my favorite kind. If mystery has some kind of magical element to it, I'm usually a fan, so I'm excited for this one. I picked it up at the bookstore and I hadn't heard of it before, and I just saw it on the table, and it just seems like a book I'm really gonna love, and so I keep looking at it knowing I need to read it because I really think it's gonna be a book that's for me. This one I already started and I'm absolutely in love, but I'm not far enough in, so I wanted to count it because I just want to really talk about my excitement. This is A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. It's a Lady Trent memoir, so there's, I believe, 6 books in this series, and it is giving me Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies vibes. It's about this woman who wants to study dragons, and that's all she wants to do her whole life. And so in this book, we're starting from her childhood into like her first adventure, and how she became obsessed with dragons and wanted to study them, and how she went on her first like dragon adventure. And it's really good. It's historical. I think the time period, I don't know if they actually give you like a real time period. It's, I think, historic like adjacent. It's one of those where it like reminds me of Victorian times, but isn't specifically said to be Victorian times. And yeah, so she goes and is like talking about like the role of being a woman in society and wanting to like branch out and learn about dragons, but not being taken seriously, not being told she can, and how she's got there. It's got like a bit of a sassy vibe to it. She's now an old woman telling her story, and so there are a lot of times where she's like, oh, this might be sensitive, but whatever, I'm an old lady, I can say what I want, and then she'll tell you something. It is got a lot to do about like actual dragons and like the science and history and like how their bodies work and stuff, which I found really fun. I will say it's not for the faint of heart. There is some like stuff about like killing dragons and like looking in their bodies, so if like that medical stuff and animal harm doesn't sit well with you, I don't think this would be for you. But I'm really excited to finish this because it is just so good, and I'm really excited to have this on my TBR. Sort of. Is it still on your TBR if you're reading it? And then the last one is a cozy fantasy called Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quinby Olson. I'm not sure, I haven't heard a ton of people talk about this, but I've seen it a couple times and it just sounds so good. It's a woman who inherits a dragon, and all I know is that she has to hatch the dragon and like take care of it, and it's about her experience trying to take care of this dragon. And that's really all I need to know, you know? It just sounds so good. And look at the dragon. It's a little fierce, a little cute, and it's in an egg. So, yeah. I'm excited. I don't really have any more to say about this except for that it's about taking care of a dragon and it's cozy fantasy, and I've been loving cozy fantasy. So, excited. So there you have it. All the books that are on my TBR that I'm really excited to read. I have a lot more on my TBR that I should get to, but these are the ones that immediately come to mind if I'm telling you what I'm most excited to read. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was a fun video, and if you want to leave any comments down below of what you think I will like, and also any books on your TBR, because I always like hearing different books you're reading about, and it helps me to find more books, you know? So thank you for watching again, and I will see you next time.